Hello. Thank you so much for being here today. I'm really excited, and I'm so excited to be here in College Station giving this talk. So I'm going to go ahead and get started. So today I really want to tell you the story of how when I was 15 years old, I created a movement that spread to 28 different countries. I think we often hear about these nonprofits and these movements, but we never really get to hear the backstory on how they got started. We just hear accomplishments and highlights. So I really want to share my story personally and how this ended up getting created. It starts when I was 3 years old. So my mom used to love to dress me up in these cute little hats and dresses, and I was a really, really happy kid. But one of my first memories was my mom was doing my hair, and she found a bald patch about the size of a quarter. And I remember her just sobbing. I'm the youngest of 5 kids, so my mom has seen it all. But this was the first time she had seen that much hair missing, and she was scared. She was like, is something wrong with my baby? Is she gonna be okay? Is she gonna be fine? And so I was diagnosed with a condition called alopecia. Alopecia is basically an autoimmune condition that causes you to lose your hair. Your body thinks hair is a disease, so it fights it off just like it would a cold. And I really, really, at that moment, even knew that there was something really different about me. But I decided to kind of push it to the back burner and realize, I've got to move on from this, and it's really not that big of a deal. So that's kind of where I was at that age. I hit middle school, though, and my life totally changed forever. I lost all of my hair, and in those pictures, I'm wearing a wig. I'll get into that struggle more a little bit later, but that was like pretty defining moment. And then I like to move on to high school and college, which is where I'm at now, to kind of show the progression. And even though this story does get pretty sad at moments, I always like to emphasize this because it also does get better. There is always light at the end of the tunnel. There's always hope. And I'd love to show that. But first, there was a lot of struggle. I truly watched my hair fall out strand by strand. I will never forget it, that morning, and how hard and how scary it was. It was the spring break of my 7th grade year, so not good timing. And I remember just waking up and knowing in my heart that something was different. I didn't have to look in the mirror. I didn't have to look at my pillow. I just knew there was something wrong. And I remember looking down at my pillow and seeing so much hair. I was used to losing hair on and off during my life, but I remember seeing piles and piles of hair. And I remember just running my hands through my hair and getting huge chunks. And I was so scared. I was shaking. I couldn't even find the courage to go look in the mirror because I knew I wouldn't like what I saw. I was so scared. I finally did find the courage, and I decided, okay, you know what? You need to get up and go look in the mirror. And pretty much all of my hair was gone. All I had was a little patch in the back of my head. And I remember just holding on to that and thinking to myself, this is the last part of me that's left that's beautiful. After this, I'm totally worthless. And I remember that's the exact thought that ran through my head. And again, I was 12 years old. I was scared out of my mind. So to go into kind of what happens next in that story, I went downstairs and I told my parents, I am not going to school without a wig. And I was really, emotional about this. I was like, I don't know where we buy wigs from. My family didn't know anything about wigs. But I said, please, can we just buy a wig? I'll pay for it. I'll sell my things. Not that I had that many things back then. I was like, but I just really need to wear a wig. And so they took me to where the only place was that we could associate wigs with, which was a Halloween store. We obviously knew nothing about wigs and beauty, so we went to this sketchy Halloween store that stayed open year-round, and that's where we went to go get my wig. My hair used to be short and black and curly. The one we found was long and had red and brown streaks, so subtle. No, but I went to school and everybody noticed. I was so shy and I was hoping that no one would notice. I was hoping that I would just kind of blend into the background because I thought I'm so quiet that no one's really gonna pay attention, but it was just so obvious and everybody noticed, and the bullying I faced was really, really endless. It would not stop. There was an online burn page made about me. I remember one day logging in to the internet and finding a Facebook account literally titled the Sanah Burn Page, where people were supposed to post mean statuses and guess all the reasons why I was wearing a wig. The first status was, Sanah Jivani's so fake, she wears a wig, let's guess why. And people were saying maybe it's because she wants a boy to like her. Maybe it's because she's so quiet and no one paid attention to her. People were just saying all of these really, really mean things. And I remember just crying and thinking, like, I wish they could understand for 1 second why this was happening, why I was going through all of this. But there was just a lot of assumption. I found notes in my locker, one even titled 50 Ways to Go Kill Yourself. And I just remember wondering, why does everybody hate me so much? And I faced a lot of physical bullying, getting pushed around, finding gum in my wig. It was just a really big struggle, and I became really scared to go to school. I missed almost half the year that year because every other day I would just be too terrified to get out of bed. But I noticed something. Like, through all of that, I noticed something really big. People said mean things to me. They said extremely mean things to me. But somehow, the things I was saying to myself were so much worse. People would call me ugly at school, but then I would go home and look in the mirror and tell myself, yeah, you are ugly, you deserve that. They're right for telling that to you, you're worthless. Like, I would say really, really mean things to myself. And I kind of started thinking about this, and I was like, why am I making this so much harder for myself? Like, this is already a really hard thing to go through. Why am I being so mean to myself through all of this? So I realized that in any situation, when you take low self-esteem, and you take low self-confidence, and you add bullying, you get this behavior called self-bullying, essentially bullying yourself. And so I think that sounds silly, like, why would you bully yourself? But I think it's important to look at different examples of self-bullying to realize where it comes into play. So, in everyday life, when you start a new project, or when you're in school and something's hard and you tell yourself, I can't do this. When you're surrounded by a group of people, whether it be friends or if you're in a relationship, and just like telling yourself, I'm not good enough for this person, I'm not good enough for this situation. When you go through something hard or you hear bad news, and you automatically, the first thought you think is, I'm not strong enough. I'm not strong enough to get through this. And then I see this one a lot with like college students, and even myself, I struggle with it. Before I even look at a test, or before I even look at what I'm gonna have to try to accomplish, I just say, I'm gonna fail. Like, I know this is not me. I'm not gonna get in. I'm not gonna get a good grade. I'm gonna fail. So when you think about it that way, maybe we do bully ourselves a little bit. And a good way that I like to gauge it is, would you say this to a friend? If your friend was about to go into a big test, if your friend was going through something bad, would you say, you're not strong enough, or you're gonna fail? I think the answer is no, so why would you say it to yourself? So thinking about it that way really helped me. I personally started to struggle with my own mental health. I really didn't care what happened to my body. I struggled with self-harm, and I became really suicidal at that time, and it was just a really, really dark time for me. So I want you to ask yourself, like, how many times have you said something negative to yourself like this? Because it does add up. And when is it gonna stop? When are you truly going to be able to stop saying these things? For me, there was a day where I felt like I really hit rock bottom. Like I said, I stopped going to school. I was so scared. And I used to love school. I used to be that kid who got really excited when school supplies went on sale, and I had so many stocked up in my room, and I loved learning. And I remember I came home from school one day, and I saw my mom on the couch, and she was just sobbing. And she had this letter in her hands from the school, and it said that I was gonna have to repeat the 8th grade. And we eventually fought that decision, and I didn't have to, but I think in that moment I realized that not only did I lose my hair, but I lost my relationship with my mom. I couldn't talk to her. I lost my relationship with my friends. I was being very distant from all my friends and not telling them anything that I was going through. I lost my school. I lost my love of learning. I did not like to learn anymore. I did not like to go to school. So I just realized losing my hair made me lose so many different parts of myself. And I knew something needed to change. I couldn't keep going through this. I couldn't keep letting myself lose the person that I always was. So I made the decision that I needed to start practicing self-love. So essentially, I had to take some of these thoughts that I was thinking, the self-bullying, and change them into thoughts that are true. And I know this seems very trivial, but I think you can really teach yourself the things that you say about yourself. If you say something enough times, it becomes a part of your everyday vocab. It becomes something that you're used to saying. So I got used to saying all of these things that aren't true. So every time I said, I'm all alone, I had to reverse it and say, no, people care about me. It would matter if I wasn't here anymore. People care, I'm not alone. Every time that I would say, I'm useless, there's no point of me being on this world, I would have to say, no, I'm beyond enough, and there's more than a reason for me to be here. Every time I thought to myself, I'm unworthy of my mom's love, I'm unworthy of my friend's love, I had to tell myself, I am worth it, and I am beautiful just the way I am. And any time that I was in middle school, which feels like it never ends, and I thought to myself, I'm trapped, I had to tell myself, no, I can do anything. Like, I can get through this, and I can not only get through this, but there's so many other things that I'm gonna be able to get through. So it's really simple. It was just for me about changing the negative into the positive. And I don't want to paint a picture that confidence means being perfect or it's this simple. It's not. It's really complicated and it takes time. So confidence does not mean being perfect. It means loving your imperfections. I still have days where I wake up and I feel like I'm back in the 7th grade. Like, it feels like I just lost my hair. I can't even get out of bed. I don't want to go to the grocery store because I know people are going to stare at me. I don't want to go to school because I know someone might say something. There's days that I can't stand the way I look. But I think confidence truly means loving the good days and all those bad days, no matter how hard they get. So after I started radiating confidence and truly learning to be myself, the bullying stopped. It really died down. And I think that's because I realized that once I learned to love and appreciate who I am, others were able to do the same. And that was really cool. So I found something that I like to call freedom. And freedom to me basically means being able to do what I love, realizing that at one point I was so shy that I sat in the back of the classroom, but now I'm so confident that I can get up and share this no matter how hard it is some days. And that's what freedom truly felt like for me, and I think it looks different for everyone. So I kind of want to move on to the next portion of the story. After I went through this, I decided that I was ready to go without my wig. And I sat in front of my computer, I made a video, and during that video I pulled off my wig and I said, you know what, this is who I am. And I posted it online. After I posted it online, I was so scared. I literally just shut off my computer, went to sleep, and I went to school the next day. It was my first day of my freshman year of high school. And I told myself that I'm not gonna read any of the comments because I don't wanna change my mind about this decision I've made. When I got to school, everybody told me, you need to go read the comments on that video. And I was really excited because they said they're really positive comments, like, you need to go see what people are saying. And so I got home that next day and I read the comments, and there were really cool ones and sweet ones, like, you're so beautiful and you're so brave, and those meant a lot to me. But the extremely impactful ones were, I saw you go without your wig, and because of that, I'm gonna go get help with my eating disorder, or I'm gonna go get out of my abusive relationship, or I struggle with acne and you've made me more comfortable with who I am. And at first I didn't get it. I thought, I'm going through something so different than all of these other people. Why is my story helping them so much? But I just realized that in general, when you have the courage to be who you are, you just automatically inspire other people to do the same. And I knew that I had to do something more. I knew that I couldn't stop with just this video. So I came up with the idea of the International Day of Self-Love. We have so many other days on the calendar. We have Mother's Day, Father's Day, Friendship Day, and I think these days are important. But what if we had a day just dedicated to ourselves? A day where we could truly practice self-love and go get help. We could do something nice for ourselves. We could reflect on what we're going through. I chose February 13th for this day because it's the day before Valentine's Day, and you have to really love and appreciate yourself before investing in others. And since I've started that day, it's spread to 28 countries. Through my nonprofit, we have curriculum in 100 schools, and it's one mission, just to spread self-love. So it's something I'm really proud of and something I'm really excited, and something that I hope you all will celebrate. So this is all done through my nonprofit organization, the Love Your Natural Self Foundation. We do empowerment sessions, speaking engagements like this one. We have curriculum in 100 schools, and we fundraised over $30,000. Sometimes I look at this and I'm so proud and so happy that I started it when I was 15 years old. And I think if anything, it's really taught me that if you truly believe in your ideas enough, anything is possible. You're never too young or too unqualified or anything like that to make a difference. Like, I think we look at stuff like this and we think, like, someone else could do that, but I can't do that. But that's not true. Like, everybody has the power within them to do something like this. It's just a matter of finding something you're truly passionate about and going for it. So, kind of moving on to the college phase of it. I had learned to love myself physically a lot. Like, I realized that no matter what, without hair, that I am beautiful. But on the inside, I was still kind of struggling with self-love. I was a full-time student. I started trying to get all A's, and I became really obsessed with studying and working really hard. I was interning every summer. I remember from morning to night, I would basically be in my dorm. I had a lot of trouble making friends my first year, and I was just working so much. But at the end of the day, I would do all of this, and I would have my work in front of me, and it still didn't feel like I was doing enough. So I started to kind of ask myself, what is enough? What does that even mean? I remember when I first started, I told myself, when you hit 20 schools, that'll be enough. And then I said, when you hit 50, that'll be enough. And then I hit 100, and for some reason, I still on the inside wasn't feeling like it was enough. I was like, what if I get this on every single calendar around the globe, and I still don't feel like I'm doing enough? So is enough really the highlights of who we are? Is it all these accomplishments? Is it my nonprofit? Or is it something else? So I want to share this poem. You guys can follow along that kind of explores this, and I'm just going to read it. Don't you wish it weren't true that there are hidden parts of you, pieces barely held together by the smallest bits of glue? You try to show strength by acting brand new. You act like everything is always okay. You push every bit of darkness away. When it comes to joy, you always speak out. You speak without any fear or doubt. You speak out loud for others to see, and you think, these are the pretty parts of me. But inside, you know what's true. This joy doesn't always define you. You know that you are so much more, and inside of you, there's sometimes a war. There's a war that has put cracks in who you are. There's a war that has given you scars. You have learned to hide everything you go through because you don't want people to think less of you. But you are enough, and don't you know it's these very scars that make you so tough? It's these cracks in who you are that let out light. It's these cracks in who you are that have given you fight. It's these cracks in who you are that help you shine bright, and I believe these cracks should be displayed in plain sight. Don't try to hide the pain and the tears. Don't try to hide your deepest fears. Don't try to hide all of the emotion. Your depth and beauty is larger than the ocean. And it's this depth and beauty that people want to see. It's this depth and beauty that make you into who you want to be. It's not darkness that comes from who you are. It's a light that shines brighter than the stars. These cracks in who you are let out a light that reminds people to fight. It's a light that through the darkness guides people home because they are reminded they're not alone. And when people see your light, theirs will turn on too, and they will feel brave enough to share the things that they go through. This cycle will just create more light, and through the darkness, the world can fight. When you choose to embrace who you are, your light slowly heals others' scars. I know it's often hard to see, but it's these hidden parts of you that carry the most beauty. And so I wrote that, and I realized that, it's not my nonprofit, it's not all the countries, it's not the 100 schools that make me special. It's not the things that we see on social media about everyone else that make them special. It's not your GPA. It's not these things that you think. It's your bad days too. It's your days that you can't even see through your own tears. You're really struggling. It's the days that you have a meltdown. It's the days that you can't even get out of bed and all you can manage to do is watch TV. Being who you are, all of who you are, good days and bad days, is what changes the world. And I think that's what makes all of us special. So remembering that really helped me. So make peace with yourself first. Find that joy inside yourself, and then go out and spread peace to the world. And that's really what I hope that you get from this. Find out how awesome you truly are, and go and share that with the world, because the world needs you exactly as you are. So thank you so much. That's where you can find more information, but thank you.